Have you ever spent hours replaying something that nobody else probably even noticed? Maybe you stumbled over your words while introducing yourself. Maybe you sent a message and immediately started wondering, did that sound weird? Maybe someone looked at you for 2 seconds and your brain somehow turned that into, they definitely think I'm awkward. If you've ever done that, you're not strange. You're human. Here's something stranger though. Right now, somewhere in your head, there's a tiny audience. A group of imaginary people watching everything you do, judging your outfit, judging your voice, judging that message you've already reread 4 times. And here's the twist. That audience isn't even paying attention. Most of them are too busy running their own imaginary audience in their own heads, worrying about what you think of them. We're all sitting in the front row of a show nobody else is watching. Some of the most accomplished people in the world have admitted to struggling with exactly this. The difference isn't that they stopped receiving judgment. The difference is they stopped letting imagined judgment control their decisions. Because here's something most people never realize. The biggest prison isn't made of concrete. It's made of invisible opinions. Opinions that, half the time, don't even exist. So today, we're going to break this down properly. Not with, just be confident, motivational poster advice. Because confidence isn't a switch you flip. It's something that grows once you understand how your own mind actually works. We'll look at where this fear comes from, what it's quietly costing you, and, most importantly, a practical way to loosen its grip, one piece at a time. Stick around till the end. The last part is the one most people skip, and it's honestly the piece that makes everything else work. Let's get into it. Let's clear something up first. Caring what others think isn't a flaw in you. It's not weakness. It's not just how you are. It's a feature that got built into the human brain a long time ago, for a very good reason. Thousands of years ago, being disliked by your group wasn't just uncomfortable, it was dangerous. Humans survived because we lived together. If the tribe rejected you, you lost protection, food, safety. Being cast out could genuinely mean the difference between life and death. So the brain built an alarm system. Any sign of disapproval, and that alarm would go off, pushing you to fix it fast. Apologize, adjust, blend back in, do whatever it takes to stay accepted. That alarm system is still fully installed in your brain today. The problem is, the world changed, and the alarm never got the memo. Nobody's leaving you in the wilderness because you wore a slightly odd outfit to a wedding. Nobody's withholding food because you asked a basic question in a meeting. But your nervous system still reacts like the stakes are that high. That's why your heart races before speaking up. That's why criticism feels personal. That's why one negative comment online can somehow outweigh 100 kind ones. Your brain isn't trying to ruin your confidence. It's trying to protect your place in the group. The problem is, sometimes it protects you too much. Imagine walking into a room full of people, and right as you step in, you trip slightly over the doorstep. Nothing serious. You catch yourself instantly. But in your head, it feels like the whole room just witnessed the most embarrassing moment of your life. For the next hour, you're replaying it. Everyone saw that. They probably think I'm clumsy. Now flip it. Imagine someone else walked in and tripped instead. How long would you actually think about it? 5 seconds maybe? You might smile, then forget it before the conversation even starts. By tomorrow, it's gone completely. So why do we assume everyone remembers our mistakes forever when we barely remember theirs? That question is the beginning of freedom. There's an actual, well-documented psychological effect behind this. It's called the spotlight effect. Our tendency to believe people notice and remember us far more than they actually do. Researchers tested this directly. They had someone wear a slightly embarrassing t-shirt into a room full of strangers, then asked them to guess how many people in the room had noticed it. People consistently guessed a number far higher than reality. Most people in that room barely registered the shirt at all, because they were busy thinking about themselves. Exactly like we all are, all the time. That's the core truth hiding underneath all of this. Everyone is the main character of their own movie. You're not a supporting character being judged in someone else's story. You're barely an extra. People are simply too absorbed in their own to-do lists, their own insecurities, to spend as much energy on you as you imagine. Try this tomorrow. Walk into a cafe, your office, your college, anywhere with people around. Instead of asking, what is everyone thinking about me? Ask, what is everyone probably thinking about, period. You'll notice something interesting. One person's checking their phone. Someone's worried about a meeting. Someone's thinking about dinner. Someone's quietly replaying their own embarrassing moment from yesterday. Almost nobody is spending their day analyzing you. In fact, a good number of them are worried you might be judging them. Once you actually notice this, something shifts. You stop feeling like you're standing on a stage. You realize you're just another person in a crowd full of people carrying their own invisible worries. That realization is strangely freeing. So the fear was never really, what will people think of me? It's closer to, what if I get rejected? And rejection means danger. That's an ancient survival instinct, misfiring in a modern world that mostly doesn't need it anymore. If everyone's mostly thinking about themselves, why does one negative comment stay in your head for days, while 10 compliments barely register? Why can complete strangers hold so much power over your mood? A few more patterns explain this, and once you see them, you stop believing everything your mind tells you. Negativity bias. Our brains are wired to give more weight to negative experiences than positive ones. One raised eyebrow can outweigh 10 warm smiles. One critical comment can outlive 50 compliments. Think about two early humans. One notices a nice patch of flowers. The other notices a tiger hiding in the bushes. The one paying attention to danger survives more often. That's the system we inherited. It's not a personal flaw. It's just older than modern life. But in daily life, it means a single moment of disapproval can echo for days, while approval quietly fades into the background almost immediately. The comparison trap. You open social media for 5 minutes. Someone bought a house. Someone started a business. Someone looks happier, fitter, more put together. Without meaning to, your brain starts asking, why am I behind? This is social comparison, a completely natural human habit that helped us learn from each other for most of history. The problem now is what we're comparing. A movie trailer shows the best jokes and the biggest moments, never the boring middle. Social media works the same way. People post the highlight, not the doubt behind it. You end up comparing your full, unedited, behind-the-scenes life to everyone else's carefully cut trailer. Of course it feels unfair. It is. Mind reading. Your brain hates uncertainty, so when it doesn't know what someone's thinking, it fills in the blanks, usually with the worst option. You wave at someone, they don't wave back, and within seconds, your mind's already decided they're upset with me. Turns out they just didn't see you. Nothing happened. Your brain preferred a wrong answer over no answer at all. This is a known thinking pattern called mind reading, treating a guess as though it were confirmed fact. The fix is a simple pause. Ask yourself, what do I actually know versus what am I just assuming? That small gap between observation and story is often all you need to calm down. Why embarrassing moments stick. Emotionally intense moments get remembered far more vividly than ordinary ones. Your brain essentially highlights them, the way you'd highlight an important line in a textbook. That's useful when there's a real lesson to learn. It's less useful when your brain keeps re-highlighting something that stopped mattering years ago. Here's a good test. Can you remember an embarrassing moment a classmate had 10 years ago? Probably not many. Now think of your own. You probably remember several. That doesn't mean your mistakes were bigger. It just means you were the one who felt every second of it. Everyone remembers their own story more vividly than yours, exactly like you remember yours more vividly than theirs. Approval as a habit. Compliments feel good. Likes feel satisfying. There's nothing wrong with enjoying that, but it becomes a problem the moment approval turns from pleasant into necessary, when you need it just to feel okay. That's an exhausting way to live, because if strangers have the power to make you feel valuable, they also have the power to make you feel worthless. That's a lot of control to hand to people who don't even know they're holding it. Here's what all of this actually costs you, because most people underestimate it. It's not just occasional anxiety. Left unchecked, it quietly reshapes entire decades of a life. Think about how many decisions get filtered through the question, what will people think, before you even act? The career you don't pursue because it sounds unconventional to your relatives. The hobby you quietly drop because someone laughed once. The idea you don't share in the group chat. The outfit you change at the last second. The message you never send. The dream you never say out loud. Each one on its own feels small. Stack them across years, though, and you get a life quietly edited by an audience that was never really watching that closely to begin with. And it doesn't just cost you opportunities, it costs you. Keep shaping your choices around approval long enough, and you slowly lose touch with what you actually wanted in the first place. You end up with a life that looks good from the outside, but feels oddly hollow on the inside, because none of it was really chosen by you. It was chosen by an imaginary panel of judges in your head. That's the real real cost. Not embarrassment, erosion, a slow erosion of your own voice. So how do you actually loosen this grip? Not by caring about nothing. That's not realistic, and it isn't even healthy. Zero caring makes you careless, disconnected, maybe even harmful to relationships that genuinely matter. The goal isn't to care about nothing. The goal is to care selectively, to filter whose opinion earns weight in your decisions and whose doesn't. Picture the people whose opinions genuinely matter to your life, the ones who know your full story, who've earned trust by actually showing up for you, who want good things for you, even when they disagree with you. For most people, that circle is small, maybe a handful, maybe fewer. Now compare that to the audience most of us are actually performing for, a vague, faceless crowd of everyone. Coworkers you barely know, strangers online, distant relatives you see twice a year, people whose approval wouldn't meaningfully change your life even if you had it, and whose disapproval doesn't cost you anything real. Ask yourself, whenever the fear shows up, whose opinion is this really coming from? Someone who actually knows and cares about me? Or a crowd I've mostly invented in my head? Trace it back, and it's almost always the second group. And here's the deeper point. Not every opinion deserves equal weight. If you wanted to learn to swim, you wouldn't take advice from someone who's never been in the water. The same logic applies to life. Someone who's never started a business, laughing at your business idea, or someone who's never exercised, criticizing your fitness journey. That says more about them than it does about you. Don't let every voice become your inner voice. This explains why the fear hits some people much harder than others. It usually comes down to where your sense of self-worth is sourced from: external validation or internal validation. When good enough is built mostly on praise, likes, and being seen as impressive, any hint of disapproval feels like a direct hit on your identity. It stops being "someone disagreed with me" and starts feeling like "maybe I'm not okay." But when self-worth is built more from the inside, from your own values, your own effort, your own integrity, outside opinions still register. They just don't shake the foundation. They become information instead of a verdict. That's genuinely good news, because it means the real work isn't stop caring what people think as an isolated skill. It's building a steadier sense of who you are underneath it all, so outside opinions naturally start carrying less weight. One simple habit that helps? Keep a short, private list. Not for showing off, just for yourself, of moments you acted according to your own values, even when nobody was watching or praising you for it. Over weeks and months, that quietly retrains where your sense of worth comes from. Understanding the psychology is only half the work. Here's how to actually use it in daily moments. 1. Separate facts from stories. Someone looks serious after your presentation. Your brain says they hated it. But the fact is just someone looked serious. The story, they hated it, is something your brain added on its own. This happens constantly. A short text reply becomes "they're angry." A missed smile becomes "they don't like me." Whenever it happens, pause and ask 2 questions. What do I actually know? And what am I just assuming? That gap is often all you need. 2. The 5 to 10 year test. When you're frozen over what someone might think, ask, will this matter in 5 or 10 years? Will I even remember this, let alone anyone else? Almost every moment that feels enormous right now, an awkward comment, a small mistake, dissolves from everyone's memory within days, except yours. Meanwhile, the things people usually regret aren't the embarrassing moments. It's the things they never tried because of fear. Mistakes fade. What if tends to stick around. 3. Separate the feedback from the person. When criticism lands, ask, is this coming from someone who understands the full situation and genuinely wants good things for me? If yes, it's worth sitting with. If not, you're allowed to let it pass through without absorbing it. Not all feedback is equal, and you get to decide how much power it's given. 4. Build an internal scoreboard. Imagine 2 athletes, one who only feels successful when the crowd cheers, and one who tracks their own progress after every practice. The second one stays motivated longer because they're measuring something they actually control. External scoreboards, likes, praise, approval, rise and fall unpredictably. An internal one doesn't. Did I tell the truth today? Did I keep a promise to myself? Did I improve even slightly? Nobody can take that scoreboard away from you. 5. Do small exposure reps. Confidence doesn't usually come before action. It comes after it, from repetition. Nobody learns to ride a bike by reading about bikes. You learn by wobbling and trying again. So start small. Wear something slightly different. Ask the question in the group. Share the opinion you'd normally hold back. Each time, and the world doesn't end. And it won't. Your brain quietly collects evidence that contradicts the old alarm. Avoidance teaches your brain, that must have been dangerous, since I escaped it. Facing it teaches, that was uncomfortable, and I handled it. That's how the fear actually shrinks. Not by arguing it away, but by walking through it enough times that it runs out of proof. 6. Choose your circle carefully. You wouldn't ask for directions from someone walking the opposite way up the mountain. Apply the same logic to opinions. Constructive feedback from someone who genuinely wants your growth is worth taking seriously. Criticism from someone who's never attempted what you're attempting often says more about their own fears than about you. Listen carefully, just not equally. 7. Name the fear out loud. Sounds simple, but it works. When you catch yourself spiraling, just say out loud or in your head, I'm afraid of being judged right now. Naming an emotion activates a calmer, more regulated part of the brain instead of the raw, reactive part. It creates a small gap between you and the fear, and in that gap, you get to choose your next move instead of the fear choosing it for you. Here's the part worth sitting with. People who stop chasing blanket approval and start operating from their own values tend to make bolder choices. Not reckless ones, just choices that were quietly on hold for years. They speak up in rooms where their voice matters. They try things publicly they used to only attempt in private. And oddly, this usually makes people respect them more, not less. There's something magnetic about someone clearly running on their own compass instead of performing for a crowd. There's also a quieter kind of relief that comes with this. A huge amount of daily mental energy goes toward managing an imagined audience, replaying conversations, rehearsing how to appear a certain way. Once that energy frees up, it doesn't vanish. It goes somewhere else, into real relationships, real work, actually experiencing moments instead of narrating them for an invisible crowd while they happen. This isn't about becoming indifferent to people. It's about becoming intentional about who gets a vote in your life and how large that vote is. It's not caring less about people. It's caring more precisely. Imagine for a second being 80 years old, looking back. Ask yourself honestly, what would you regret more? Looking a little foolish while chasing what you actually wanted, or never trying at all because of what people might have thought? Most people already know the answer. The hard part isn't knowing it, it's remembering it tomorrow morning. Right before you speak up, post the thing, wear what you like, or choose your own path anyway. Let's bring it together. Caring what others think isn't a personal weakness. It's an old survival instinct that never got the update. The audience in your head is almost always louder and more attentive than the real one. The real cost isn't embarrassment. It's the slow erosion of your own voice over time. The fix isn't caring about nothing. It's filtering whose opinion actually deserves weight and building a steadier sense of self-worth from the inside, so outside opinions become information instead of verdicts. And the tools only work if you actually use them. Separating facts from stories, the 5 to 10 year test, sorting feedback by source, building an internal scoreboard, doing small exposure reps, choosing your circle carefully, and naming the fear when it shows up. None of this changes overnight. That alarm system took a lifetime to build, and it won't switch off in a day. But every time you choose your own judgment over an imagined one, that's a rep, and reps add up. So here's a small challenge before you go. In the next 24 hours, do one small thing you've been avoiding purely because of what someone might think. Send the message, wear the thing, ask the question, share the idea. Nothing reckless, just something honest, something that's actually you. If this shifted something for you, even a little, tell me in the comments. I genuinely like to know which part hit home. And if you're working on becoming a version of yourself that's less controlled by invisible opinions, subscribe. That's exactly what we explore here, one video at a time. Take care of yourself. And remember, the show in your head has a much smaller audience than you think. See you in the next one.